I'll give you a quick background on SurePrep, a quick company overview so you know who we are if you don't already. We were founded in 2002. We have over 500 employees between our offices in Irvine, which is our headquarters in California, and Mumbai, which we have a wholly owned subsidiary, SurePrep India, which is based in Mumbai. We're used by accounting firms ranging from the Big Four to local firms and everything in between. I think what is in common between firms that use SurePrep isn't necessarily the size, because like I said, it's used by boutique local firms all the way to the Big Four, but it's more the staffing model. SurePrep customers tend to use the leveraged staffing model, where they have staff people prepare returns and partners review and sign them, as opposed to, let's say, preparing a tax return in an interview style with the taxpayer client sitting across the desk and chatting as the partner enters the data into the return. There's no leverage to be gained from that model because the partner is doing all the work and it's just the data is being entered from paper. So there's not much opportunity for process improvement there. But when you have documents that come in from a client and you have a couple weeks to get them done and you're using different levels of staff people to get them done, that's where you have many moving parts, data being transferred from person to person, and the opportunity to really streamline operations and operate things and automate things. So that's, having that type of workflow and therefore wanting to streamline that type of workflow is really what our clients have in common. The SurePrep solutions work with your existing tax software, meaning the most prevalent professional tax packages, GoSystem, ProSystem, Lacert, UltraTax, Access, Global FX, so GoSystem. So, it works with your tax software. It's not a replacement of it. So that's a quick background on SurePrep. The process that I'll be demonstrating to you today, it starts and ends with the taxpayer and automates everything in between. And we take a look at it in the following phases. The gather phase, and so that's a phase where we use our Tax Caddy product that we will show that to really eliminate the paper organizer, improve client experience, and streamline the collection of documents to flow into the next step, which is the prepare phase. And there we use our 1040 scan tax document automation tool or scan and populate tool to automatically organize source documents and extract their data, put it into the tax software. 1040 scan is differentiated in many ways, including automating way more documents than any other system. Not just, more types of documents and more formats. For instance, we automate over 500 brokerage statements versus 100 for other systems, meaning like Merrill Lynch, E-Trade, et cetera, 500 different brokerage statements. But we also automate, extract data from those documents that nobody else does. So for instance, other scan and populate systems will extract the 1099 summary amounts on page 1 and perhaps the capital gain detail, but they won't pull out the other details like foreign income, investment fees, margin interest, and so on. And 1040 scan does. It goes through and pulls out all of those details from the documents, so you don't need to go through and do that manually. And then it covers documents that just no other system does. For instance, 1040 scan is the only system that extracts data from state K-1s or from grantor letters or extracting data from the organizer pages of software, of tax software. Not even tax software scan and populate systems extract data from the handwritten organizer pages that their clients fill out. So obviously this type of solution is meant to automate, and if it can automate more documents, it's going to have a greater impact on your business. So that's one of the big differentiators of 1040 scan. From prepare, it goes to review, and this is where we have SurePrep Binder, which is an electronic work paper system that is custom tailored or bespoke for source document-based engagements. What I mean by that is when most people think about a binder software or engagement software. They might think of softwares like ProSystem engagement, Caseware, UltraTax engagement, things like that. Those are electronic work paper systems that are for trial balance-based engagements, meaning you at the core of those work paper systems is a trial balance program that sucks in accounts and then breaks up those accounts into different work papers or lead sheets like cash, receivables, etc., and then provides functionality around those work papers for reviewing them and so on. Those types of engagement systems, if you try to use them on source document-based engagements where there's no trial balance like 1040s and 1041s, it's like trying to fit a square peg through a round hole. You end up just doing tons of workarounds, and you end up expending a lot of effort to try to have the benefit of an electronic work paper system. So a source document-based engagement binder, instead of having a trial balance at its core, it has an OCR system at its core so that scanned documents can come into it and get broken up for work papers, for wages, interest, dividend, etc. And then around those images, it provides all of the work paper preparation, review, tick marking, etc. functionality that would be important for those types of engagements. A lot more benefits in terms of automating the review of these returns compared to trying to use a trial balance system, or compared to trying to just have separate PDF and Excel files and so on. You wouldn't do that for an audit. It's for source document-based engagements. It's no more efficient to just have a document management bucket with a bunch of different files in it. And so once the return is reviewed and complete, then it gets delivered. Once again, Tax Caddy being the part of the process or the product suite that interfaces with the taxpayer is used to deliver the returns, the payment vouchers, even your tax preparation invoice for your tax prep fees, and can collect payment and everything. So we'll go and we will show all of that. If you go to the website, go to the 1040 scan page, scroll to the bottom, you can go ahead and see how SurePrep compares to various packages with a detailed analysis there. Many of these items are I just summarized in talking about some of the differences at 1040 scan. So as I mentioned, we're going to start off with Tax Caddy and gathering. And so if you go to taxcaddy.com, this is a website that is actually for your clients, for taxpayers, not for CPAs. And the purpose of this website is so that when you ask your clients, hey, why don't you create a Tax Caddy account to make working with me easy and seamless and make your tax life easier? And they'll say, well, why should I bother to do that? This website answers the question. So I think I should start off by saying one of the things that we've really tried to accomplish to differentiate Tax Caddy from online organizers or portals is that we've focused on client experience. Our goal is not just to make it more streamlined and efficient for the CPA, but it's also to improve your client's experience. Your client works with other financial providers in very modern ways with mobile applications and so on, but they still use organizers that have been around for decades with their CPA. And you have so many clients that do want to work in a more modern way, and we want to speak to that need. Needless to say, if we don't do that, if we don't create a great user experience for your clients, then they're not going to use it. And so it doesn't matter how potentially efficient a solution can make you if your clients don't use it. Think about online organizers. They've been around for over a decade. Yet for firms that have tried to implement them, maybe 2 or 3% of their clients use them. If a client won't fill out a paper organizer, why would they type into an online organizer? Portals are used for business returns with decent success. Firms will maybe deliver stuff through a portal, but to actually get clients to respond to document requests and upload all of their stuff to a portal, most firms are not successful with it because, once again, a taxpayer sees these solutions as something that's convenient for the CPA firm, but not necessarily for the taxpayer. And if there's not something in it for them, there's no reason why they need to do it. They'll just get it to you, whatever is easiest for them, which might be sending an email, which is really bad for you from an efficiency standpoint, or still mailing the documents, or some other method. So we start off by trying to sell the taxpayer, showing them the benefits. If you go to taxcaddy.com, you'll see that there's a 75-second video on the homepage that you can look at. And as you scroll down here, or as the taxpayer scrolls down, it gives all of the reasons why they might, why they'd want to use it. It's safe and secure. You can gather documents easily through many ways, like taking photos and automated downloads, things we'll talk about here in a few minutes. You can use it on any platform. You can sign documents electronically. So go take a look at it, but this is what your client will see. And with regards to the goal of, really focusing on client experience, I think the thing that, rather than taking our word for it, what demonstrates that the best is just in the App Store, search for Tax Caddy, which is what I have open here on my mobile phone. And you can see here it's got a 4.7 client rating off 74 reviews, which is a fairly decent amount of reviews. Most people don't leave reviews. And if you go and say, see all the reviews, you can go ahead and read what actual taxpayers wrote. This is my first year using the Tax Caddy app, and it's innovation at its finest for the tax industry. I've worked in tax and can appreciate the time, etc. So, I suggest you take a look at these things, and then, you can go and take a look at the taxpayer app ratings for the CCH app. Actually, I don't think they have an app that taxpayers have, so I don't know if searching for that will allow you to see the ratings. But the point is this will show you kind of the how to what extent we've accomplished the goal of creating a great taxpayer experience. So I'm going to go into the application. You notice how I can go in with Face ID, and I'm also let me log into it here. And so you'll see the taxpayer can use a browser on PC or Mac, or a browser on a tablet. We have native iPhone and Android apps, a native iPad app. You're looking at here the native iPhone app. And when I log in, here is the firm logo. By the way, later this year, we have an entire branding customization that will be coming out that will allow you to select a color palette that matches the color palette for your firm and have different shaped logos and so on. So the branding capability is getting extended quite a bit. And when I go in, I see I have various tax pro requests. I have a questionnaire to answer. I have documents to sign and so on. So I can go ahead and take these one at a time. So I can go into the questionnaire and I can start to answer these questions, as you can see here. And as I do that, it tracks my status. You can see here 6%. I can also go and do it on the mobile app. So if I go into the mobile app, notice how it starts me on question 3 because I already answered the first 2. And I can continue. So one of the things we saw here was that about 2/3 of taxpayers that use Tax Caddy completed their questionnaire. And most people will say that with an organizer, maybe 5% complete the questionnaire. In surveys, taxpayers told us they did it because it was convenient. They could just, when they had some time, they could go through some questions. If they were in a waiting room or airport or whatever, they didn't have to sit down at their kitchen table after dinner and start filling it out. So there's a questionnaire that you can use to ask the standard types of questions. Did you move? Did you have new kids? Did you change jobs? Things like that. Other things that you can have here is you can see there's documents to review. So let's take a look at what the documents to review are. You can have documents to review that are just, let's say, something that you need to show them, like a privacy policy. So in this case, I'll go into this privacy policy, and you can see I can zoom in on it, and I can go ahead and say, okay, yep, I've looked at that. I'm going to mark it as reviewed. And that will remove that as an item. So remember, before I had 2 items to review, now I just have 1. And if I go into the browser here, and I go into here, you'll see also now I only have 1 item to review. Now, you can have other types of items to review. In this case, you'll see that there's a typewriter here. That means that this item is a fillable form. So we have some clients that need to, some CPA firm clients that need to have their clients fill something out. So they can create fillable PDFs that they then upload and have their clients look at and they can complete. And one of the things that's really convenient about this for a taxpayer is that they don't have to download and re-upload the download the PDF, fill it out, and then re-upload it like you would typically have to do in a portal. Here, they can go ahead and they can just fill out the PDF on screen in the browser, in their mobile phone, on their iPad. They don't need to download it first. So you can see here, I typed this in right into the browser. The first time I went back out, went back in, it's still here. Other things that can be done, you'll notice that here I have my requested items. So I have a list of requested items, and you'll notice that I can have them request that they sign things. So here's a 7216 consent letter. I'll go into the 7216 consent letter, and once again, I can zoom in, take a look, and say, all right, that looks fine. You'll notice that it says, Dear Mr. Anderson, et cetera. This is the name of the taxpayer for this account, you can see. So we actually provide mail merge functionality so that you can create a letter template and send it out to all of your clients and replace the client name and the tax year and the contact, the CPA firm contact who owns that client relationship. All of those are mail merge fields so that you can send out customized letters in batch to clients for them to review or sign. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and sign it on my mobile phone. And it asks me to put in my first name. This is just so someone can't say, oh, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't mean to tap that. Once I put in my first name, then I can go ahead and I can proceed and submit the signed document. And once I do that, you'll see it's 1 less item for me to sign. And if I go back out and, let's say I'm going to look at this engagement letter, and if the taxpayer is looking at something, but maybe they, for whatever reason don't want to sign it, they have a question, in any document that they're looking at, they can go ahead and type a question like, what will the fees be? And so these messages come to you. They're linked to the document, so you know exactly what document the question relates to. We'll take a look at that a little later. And but that messaging system is something else that's available for clients. Now you'll notice that of the types of requested items you can have, items for them to review, items for them to sign. The next is documents for them to upload. And the list that you see here on both sides of the screen, on the browser and in the mobile phone, this is a custom created list from the tax software pro forma. So when you roll forward your tax software file, we actually pull the data from that file so that every client has a customized list of items. If you think about in an organizer, what is, clients rarely fill out an organizer. A lot of times they throw it in the trash. But what is the one thing they use it for? It's a checklist where they go through and they see all the things they gave you last year so they can put that in the pile again. So that's the greatest aspect of utility for the organizer, and that's what we've retained here. Just provide them the list of what you want, what they gave you last year, and give them a bunch of easy ways to get it to you. So one way that they can get you these documents is they can upload it from their PC or Mac. They can just, you see here, there's like an upload button, so they could do that. They can just drag and drop a document. If, for instance, if I've got one here, I can just drag it right on top of an item, and that will upload it for that item. So you'll see I've uploaded that. And once I upload a document, it reduces the number of items that I need to provide. So, now I only have 12 document requests. Each time I upload one, the request comes off my list. Another thing that I can do is I can take photos of the documents. And what we've done with TaxCaddy is we've created an in-app PDF scanner that in many ways works like a check deposit for a banking app. So when you think about, right now you're probably getting a lot of documents that taxpayers take pictures of and email them to you. And when you do that, you get a picture of not just the document, but the desk behind it and the coffee mug. And it's like a 15 megabyte file taken with a 12 megapixel camera, and you have to detach it from the email and convert it to PDF, and OCR won't pick it up because, it's not just a document, it's a picture of a desk with a document inside of it. And so the size and ratio aspects of the document are off that prevent OCR from working accurately. It's easy for the client, which is why they do it, but it's not great for you. Now we think about a bank. A bank doesn't allow people to just take a picture of a check with their, mobile phone camera and email it to their banker. They give you a very, an in-app camera that tells you get closer, get further. And when it knows it can read that check in a way that it can be automatically processed, it automatically snaps the shutter. So that's, what we call a win-win. It's great for the banking customer who wants to deposit checks that way, but it's also a win for the bank. So we've done the same thing here. We know that taxpayers want to take pictures of documents. Let's just give them an easy way to do it. So you can see here, I'm going to go ahead and tap on this U.S. National Bank. It gives me a bunch of items, ways that I can handle it. I'm going to say take a photo. And when I do, it's going to open up the mobile app. It's going to tell me to move closer, hold still. And then it's just going to take the picture like you just saw it did. I did not snap that photo. And you can see that there's no background around it. It has completely cropped it. I'm going to say use, no additional pages. If it was a multi-page document, I could say yes, and then it would create, a 2-page PDF or 3-page PDF. But in this case, I'll say no. And that's it. You'll notice how quickly this document gets uploaded in maybe 3 seconds. That's because we take it as a compressed PDF file that will be somewhere between 40 to 80 kilobytes. So you're not going to end up with, 10 megabyte files. If we go and take a look at this in the uploaded document section, here's that W-2 that I just uploaded. And when we go into it, no background. This is OCR quality. This looks like what you would have if you had dropped this document into a production scanner. So this is the win-win. The taxpayers can take the pictures of the documents, and you can still have these images automatically routed into the 1040 scan, and populate system to organize the documents and extract the data. There are other ways that you can upload documents. So you'll notice that there's a button called Smart Links, and there's also in the overview page here, you'll see there's a section on Smart Links that tells you that, hey, we can retrieve your documents automatically. So to use the Smart Links, the taxpayer can just click on that. We cover over 300 financial institutions and payroll companies and mortgage companies, and they enter in their credentials, and the system will check once a day for any tax documents like 1099s, 1098s, 5498s, W-2s if it's a payroll company, and download them the day they become available. It'll download them. It'll match them up to the document request item that it relates to, so that that item will automatically come off the taxpayer's to-do list. And one last thing for them to do, you get the document the day that it comes out. It's a native PDF, which means it has perfect quality, so the OCR will be perfect or almost perfect. And because you're getting documents earlier, it may mean you can start the return earlier. There are other ways that documents can be uploaded. Using you can upload a file even from mobile sources. So You can see here that I can access my OneDrive and my Dropbox and everything to upload files to my CPA if I want to. Let's say that I don't have a receipt for something, but I know I had the expense, like maybe this charitable contribution. I can go ahead and I can say reply with amount. And you see here I can go ahead and put in a description and an amount. And I can always go ahead and just say, you know what, I don't have this anymore. I already provided this to you, and so on. So there are different ways that the taxpayer can respond. When they're done, they can just say, done uploading. And this allows them to say, you know what, I don't have any of these documents anymore, maybe with the exception of this K1. That's still coming, but the rest I don't have. And that creates a notification for you that, hey, you can start this return. So with that, I'm going to go now and skip to this ends the gather phase, and I'm going to now go into the prepare phase from the CPA firm's perspective. So let me go let me log into SurePrep. So here I am in what we call the Tax Caddy dashboard. You can see I have a list of all the clients that I'm following. In this case, it's 60. But I have some really nice features here on how to limit that list. So for instance, if I just want to know what are clients that have sent me messages, I can go ahead and I can do that. And I can see here clients that have sent me messages, such as, you know, here's the one that I mentioned just sent this engagement letter. What will the fees be? You can see here I could open the document if I wanted to, and I can provide a reply. And by the way, you'll notice that here I just got a message saying you have a message. So I got that push notification telling me that the CPA firm just responded. So I have various filters. You know, if I want to know if, you know, uploaded documents, you can see here that it gives me, all right, the questionnaire is 100% done. I've got 11 out of 13 documents uploaded. So this is information that can really help me determine, do I want to start preparing the return? Is enough here? I can also see the last activity. I could see what clients have been most active most recently if I want to use that to decide what clients to look at. But what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to use the done uploading filter, because if you remember, the last thing I did as the client when we were gathering the data a moment ago is I clicked on the done uploading button. So this tells me, you know, what is done uploading, and I can go ahead and I'm going to go into one where all the documents have been uploaded using essentially the same client, but where all the documents are already uploaded. And you can see here that when I'm in the requested items, I see the status. So for the taxpayer, as I reviewed or signed documents or uploaded documents, they disappeared from my list. But on the CPA side, they don't disappear. They just show the status. This has been reviewed. This has been signed. This has been uploaded. So you have a status of everything that's there. If there's any unread messages, you see at the top here, you know, I see there's one unread message, so I can go ahead and take a look at this and reply to it. And when I look at the requested items, I'll see that everything is there, either, you know, already provided, uploaded, does not apply, except for one K1. And one of the things I can do here is, you know, you might have the K1. Let's say you prepare the business return and you have the K1. So if that's the case, you can go ahead and you can upload it yourself. You saw me upload it from the taxpayer side, but you can also upload it from the CPA side, in which case you're now really getting several things taken care of in one shot. You're knocking something off of their to-do list from the requested items. You are delivering the K1 to them, and now that K1 is set up to be submitted as a source document into their individual return, which you'll need anyways. So you can also respond to some of these items and upload them yourself if you have the documents or know the information. So once the documents are all uploaded, you can go ahead and you can create the binder that we were talking about, which is what you'll use to prepare and review the work papers. Now, in this case, I already have a binder. That's why you see this button says Open Binder. But if I hadn't created a binder yet, then instead of saying Open Binder, this button would say Create Binder. Since this binder is already created, I have the option to add more documents to it. And I can go ahead and select documents that are in Tax Caddy. And notice that the documents that have already been added to this binder are grayed out and checked. So I can't add the same document twice. I can only add documents that I have not yet added into my work paper binder. Now you might ask, why wouldn't I put everything in my binder? Think about Tax Caddy as being the envelope that you use to send to your clients and get back with all of the source documents. And sometimes they gave you documents that weren't needed. Maybe it was a monthly bank statement or a retirement account statement that didn't impact their return. And so maybe, in the paper days, you wouldn't have even taken a copy or a scan of that document. You would have just returned it to your client. So similarly, we can't assume that everything that the client uploads, you're going to want to have in your work papers. So this allows you to just add to your work papers what's needed versus everything that the taxpayer uploads. Once the binder is created, then the documents go to 1040 scan, and the documents get OCR'd, they get organized in this binder, and the data gets extracted to the tax software. And I'll show you how to know what gets sent to the tax software, what data gets sent. But let's take a look at this binder. So I start off looking at this binder. I see that I have an index tree. And in the index tree, I've got some documents. So you'll see these PDF icons. Here's the questionnaire that was answered in Tax Caddy. That's already indexed for me. I've got some source documents. And here you can see that there are stamps that show what data was exported to the tax return, so like tick marks. And you'll notice that in the tree, there's a bunch of these what we call missing item placeholders. They're like outlines of documents, like dotted outlines of documents. So this shows you what they had last year, what was in the pro forma, and therefore what is still missing. Now, if you're using Tax Caddy, then of course your clients have that document request list and know what's still missing. But not all of your clients will use Tax Caddy. Now, we've seen really excellent adoption rates. We've seen that on average, a firm who invites, let's say, 100 clients in year one to use Tax Caddy will have anywhere from 30 to 40% adoption in year one. So, that's in year one better adoption rates than online organizers got in over a decade. So, it is really proving itself out to be something that taxpayers choose to use, but you're going to have ones that don't. More and more every year, more will, but you'll always have the ones that are going to still send you the paper and so on. How do you let those ones know what's missing? Well, there's some nice features here. I can see a summary of all of my missing documents. If I expand this, I can see all the various missing documents, and I can add these as what we call missing item notes. And that creates these missing item notes that you see down here in the note pane. And with one button, I can click this email button, and they're all listed in an email. So I can send, as a very first step, I can go ahead and, if my client's not using Tax Caddy, send them a list of all the documents that I'm still waiting on from them. Now, you saw here that documents like this W-2 that OCR read, those are already indexed in the index tree, but there are documents that are not read yet, like what we call non-standard documents, which are documents that OCR is not designed to recognize. And so for those types of documents, you can go ahead and just drag and drop them into the tree. if it's a pro forma item, there'll already be a placeholder for them, and they just drag and drop like that, and you can go ahead and just see, just put them where they need to go. Maybe there's additional documents that you need to put in the binder as well, like an Excel file or something that you're doing. So one difference with this binder is it's not like Acrobat, where it's just essentially a PDF file. You can put Word files, Excel files, emails. So I'm going to just drag and drop this Excel file in the binder, and you'll see that it will get added. And once it does, I can go ahead and associate the Excel file into the tree, just like any of the other documents. So this Excel file you'll see has, I'm going to go ahead and close the note panel so we can see a little bit more of the screen, has 3 sheets to it. And this is a live file. It's linked. I can go ahead and I can link from one sheet to another. If I change numbers, the formulas update. But each sheet is listed as a separate work paper, just like if I were to print these out to paper and I could put them wherever I want in the file. I too here can drag and drop these any part of the tree I want. They don't have to stay together. So I'm going to go ahead and drop 2 of them to Schedule C. I'm going to take one of them and put it in medical expenses. I'll drag and drop it into medical expenses there. And so what you see now is that I've got one Excel file that has 3 sheets, but those 3 sheets are spread out across different parts of the work papers wherever it makes sense from a review perspective to look at them. Now, once I have these documents in here, I can go ahead and use the types of features that I would be, let's say, used to using in Acrobat, meaning I have various stamps that I can use, and this is just some of them. There's all sorts of different stamps that can be used here, but these stamps are not just for PDFs. They can be used in Excel files. They can be used in Word files. So it's like if I had printed everything to paper and I had a pencil and I could use it, whatever the document is, same thing. That's what these tools are. I can use them across any of the work papers. Another thing that I can do is I can create cross-references. And, I want to point out that the purpose of the cross-reference is really to reduce review time. I talked about how most of our clients use a leverage model where a junior person prepares and a senior person reviews. Sometimes people say, oh, why place a cross-reference? It adds more time to preparation. But the basics of a leverage model is that if you can add time to preparation but reduce it from review, that's a profitable trade. We didn't make that up. That's been the standard for decades. All we're doing here is creating really easy tools to allow a preparer to assemble a file that will be quick to review. So for instance, if I want to go ahead and cross-reference this amount to an amount on another page, I can do that. You see it was just a very easy click, and I can go ahead and I can click from PDF to PDF, from PDF to Excel in this case. If I want to take an amount here and cross-reference this amount to something on the following page, I can do that too. So you'll see here I have Excel to Excel, PDF to PDF. And let's say you're looking at a page and you say, I want to know what's on the other side of the cross-reference, but I don't want to have to switch views. I can open cross-references in a different window. And so in this case, it opened it up in my other monitor. I'll drag it over. But you see here, I can go ahead and I can drill down through these cross-references, kind of like opening a browser hyperlink in another tab. And that just opened up a third window. So you can see here how I can trace back numbers. And then once I look at them, I can go ahead and I can sign them off. So I'll say, okay, that looks fine. I'm going to sign these off and I'm going to close it. When I sign off these pages, you'll notice it takes me to the next page. So I'll go back. That's because I have the set to move to the next page when I sign off. So I save a click of not having to click next page. But when I sign it off, it's going to record who signed off and when. And this is going to, allow me to know what I've looked at, know what I haven't looked at, And also, let's say someone changes something after I've looked at it. So I'm going to go ahead and make a change to this Excel file. And you'll notice that I get now a warning symbol here that tells me someone modified this after the sign-off. If I go into my review tree and I go and I want to take a look at what's been signed off and what hasn't, you can see that items that are in black haven't been signed off. In green, they have. Green with an exclamation mark says that it's been modified after my sign-off. So when you think about a reviewer who reviewed this file a few weeks ago or maybe a few months ago, and now they're in extension season, and they just want to know, what's new that I haven't looked at, or has anything changed? This is a very quick way for that reviewer to get to the bottom of that without having to try to reacquaint themselves with the whole file. Just a couple more things that I would like to show you before we move on, but we are running out of time. Like I told you, there's just so much functionality that we're trying to squeeze into this 1 hour. But you can go ahead and run tape totals with some very unique functionality. So let me find a document here with some numbers. I'll just use this one for now. It could be any document. I'm going to open up the calculator. And you guys are familiar with the features of a calculator tape. Here's an OCR calculator. I can go ahead and I can highlight amounts that I want to read, and notice that those amounts get added up here. You see they're listed right there. And as I go through, the amounts don't need to be just on a PDF. I can add that amount from an Excel file. So I can essentially go through and create a tape. And, I'll even add this amount. And you'll see it recommends what the amount is if it didn't read it, it read it right. So, when I'm all done, I'm going to say, okay, equals, and I'm going to create the tape. And I'm going to give this tape a name. I'm going to call it miscellaneous expenses. And so this tape now, I can put the total of it. I'll put it right here. And so this, if I want to know, if I see this tape total, and I can give this tape total a name, notice when I put my mouse over it, tells me that it's miscellaneous expenses. And if I want to know what makes up this amount, I can go ahead and I can click through each of these items for tape 1, and I can have multiple tapes. So this is also a really great tool for preparers to make it super easy for reviewers to know where amounts are coming from. If I want to edit this tape, no problem. I can go in here, I can delete amounts, change amounts, insert rows, and it's going to update the total that you saw on that document where I had this total here will get updated as I edit the tape. One last thing before I go into the deliver phase. If we go back and we take a look at the notes, you'll notice that there are a lot of different types of notes that can be placed on the document. So I'm going to add a note here, and when I do, you'll see that this is customizable. I can create a permanent note that will roll forward from year to year. I can create a review note, and so these notes can be created, and when I create the note, I can link it to as many documents as I want. Maybe the note relates to 10 different document types, including an Excel file. And so I can go ahead and I can link this document wherever I want to. This note, I should say, wherever I want to. And when the reviewer comes and looks at it, they'll see that there's 3 different work papers that it relates to, and they can go and they can click on each one and see it. They can respond to it. They can clear it. And these notes are not just like comments in Acrobat or in Excel. These can be governed by role-based security, meaning that I can set it so that a preparer can't delete or clear the note of a partner. Only a partner can review or clear the note of another partner. So, you get that type of controls that you wouldn't get if you're just using comments in a document. So when the return is done, then it gets delivered to the taxpayer. And let's take a look at how that gets delivered. So I'm going to go back to the taxpayer side to show this. Once again, we don't have enough time to show how everything is done. But I just logged into a taxpayer account where the tax return was delivered. And you can see here that I've got lists of what returns have been uploaded, and I've got some summary information. But I can go into the tax return tab, and you can see here that I've got summary of my federal and California and Massachusetts income. And I've got the tax returns that are listed here. In the tax payments tab, you'll see that I've got, in this case, my payments are past due. But I could go ahead as the taxpayer and I can mark items as paid. So I'll go ahead and do that for this one. And if I wanted, by the way, if I clicked on it, it would take me into the document viewer where I could see the voucher and I can print it. One thing to let you know, we are working on the ability to allow the taxpayer with a click to automatically make the payment. So that'll be something very nice coming. So the taxpayer can view the payments, not just the payments with the return, but any estimated payments. So you see you can have all of their estimated payments set up here. And next year, when it comes to time to prepare the return, these payments will all get summarized in a work paper that'll be put in the binder. And if I go back to my overview screen, you'll see there's a list of things for the taxpayer to do. One of them is to sign their e-file authorization. So now in this requested items area, which is where originally I had requested them to upload the documents and sign the engagement letter, now the only thing left to do is to sign the various e-file authorizations. When I sign the e-file authorizations, like the engagement letter and 7216 consent letter that I signed, it's going to start off by asking me to put in my first name, but then it's going to go through a KBA process where I'll put in the last four of my social security number and date of birth, and it's going to ask me questions such as, which of these streets did you live on, or which of these cars did you own? And I need to get 3 of the 4 questions correct. If I don't, I have 2 more attempts that I can do that. And if I succeed, then the e-file authorization is signed. If I don't, then it changes the status to manual signature required. But almost everybody, well over 90% of taxpayers are able to answer their questions fine. Finally, once I'm all done, I can also pay my invoice. So you'll notice here that the CPA firm can deliver the invoice, and the taxpayer can not only view it here, but they can pay it with extreme ease. When I say extreme ease, if they are paying it with Apple, if they have paying it with their iPhone, then they can literally use Apple Pay. So just use their thumbprint or their Face ID and use that to pay the bill. They can go ahead and pay by credit card if you allow them. That's up to you. They can pay by bank account. They can link their bank accounts very easily. We have instant verification, meaning they can go ahead and all they need to do is, put in their credentials. Let's say for Wells Fargo, it'll link their account and they can pay right there. And the benefit of doing that is that if they pay, this is basically ACH, there's no fees to you compared to credit cards. And in order for you to use this, all you need is a Stripe account. So the money never comes to SurePrep. You just put in your Stripe account information into Tax Caddy, and then money gets transferred directly to your Stripe account. So you can see here that we have the ability to take the return all the way, from initial gathering of documents to literally not only delivering the return and the vouchers and the e-file authorization, but even the invoice and getting paid.